Hey, limitless beings, Skye Hanley here, alignment coach and business mentor. Coming to you today to talk about a really interesting one. It's a little bit of a sidestep from, let's say, business or life specifically, but it's actually like a conversation that's been coming into my realm quite a lot over the last little while. And I really wanted to make a video about this because it really does, I don't know, speak to everything that I believe to be true. And I just want to break your brains a little bit, just depending on, what angle you're coming at, with this specific thing. All right. So, let me just think for 1 second because I'm just kind of winging it. So look, what I want to actually talk to you guys about is, is loving ourselves, right? Loving the soul beyond the physical expression. All right. And this is kind of going to sound like, it sounds like a bit of a body love sort of conversation, but to be honest with you, it is and it is not. All right. So what's been coming up in my realm, in my reality, and again, look, I've had my own health and fitness journey. I've worked in the health, fitness, nutrition industry for a very, very, very long time. I love it. I am all for people understanding that they are the badass fucking human being that they are. We will get to some more of that in a second. But let me first explain what's been coming up in my reality, in my vision lately. I was recently in a particular container, and we were talking about body love. And when we were discussing body love, it was sort of like, all right, how can you send more love to your squishiness? How can you send more love? How can you, sit in union with yourself, in front of the mirror and have an amazing look and, all of those different things. And again, look, if you're a girl or a guy, or if you're, totally in love with yourself or you're not, I promise you there is something you're going to get from this video. So stick with it, all right? I promise you'll take something away from this. Now, let me just quickly say, if you are new to my YouTube channel, hello, welcome. Interesting one to jump in on. We're here to talk normally about business and life, and this really is relevant to our overall unapologetic expression of ourselves. So if you are new to my YouTube channel, make sure you hit the like or subscribe button wherever it may be, so that you can stay up to date with all of the amazing content that we're putting out, including this slight sort of divergent from the norm, all right? I promise we'll bring it all back around in the end. Now, so I was in this, I was in this container and we were talking body love, and, I was feeling into it, and it was sort of bringing some stuff up for me, and a bit of ego popped in, and some trigger, and, all sorts of different things. And I was sort of journeying with that, and maybe some disbelief, from of the presenter, because to me, the way that it felt like we were talking about, loving ourselves, or a better way of putting it, so that we're not sort of sounding necessarily like, let me go extreme here for a second, a 20-something-year-old girl going through a journey with their own, like their own weight loss journey or something like that. Body love, look, it's not like, if we use a different phrase than that, so that we're not kind of compartmentalizing it in this sort of box where, body love is often referred to. Again, I come from health and fitness, so that's kind of the norm. It's, it's that journey with, losing weight and loving yourself and that kind of thing. Not quite talking about that. It's more like reverence for yourself, right? Reverence for the amazing human being that you are. Girl, guy, 60 years old, 13 years old, right? So that's what we're kind of talking about. Not necessarily this, overdone, title of body love, I suppose, out there in the health, fitness, wellness, whatever industries, mindset industries. Now, when we were talking about this, I was just, I don't know, frequency misalignment or something. Bless, I don't, I'm not here to excuse my language, shit on any other presenters by any mean. We all, including myself, we all come from, different directions, different avenues, with the information that we have at hand in our brain, rolling around, bringing it to you, hopefully in a fashion that maybe lands and maybe doesn't. And it's okay when things don't land. That particular day didn't land for me. And I was just like, it feels like we're playing in a realm of, I don't know, smallness, right? And there being a difference, there's an A word, apathy, right? You know, sort of going, oh, well, like, who cares? Doesn't matter anyway. Do what the fuck you like, however you feel, you know, this or that. It felt like we were coming from body love from a place of apathy. Like, who the fuck cares what people think? And look, that, you know, that's another conversation and a true journey there, perhaps, right? But apathy and reverence for self are not the same thing. All right. So let me say that again. Apathy, as in zero fucks given, like I don't care, like whatever, like, you know, I can look like this and like apathy, like zero fucks given. And, you know, potentially like self-reverence, you know, for the amazing being that you are, you know, very different things. And when we were talking about sort of, I suppose, body love, you know, it kind of came from this place of, you know, this is your shell, this is your physical expression, you know, this is your reality, you know, journey with that, sit in front of a mirror, you know, do these different things. And I'm not saying don't do those things. If you struggle to look at yourself in the mirror, then yeah, there may be some kind of amazing, you know, exercise or, you know, and I've known guys who have body dysmorphia as well, big muscly bouncers who have body dysmorphia, alrighty, or, you know, not enoughism or can't look at themselves. So it's not, you know, guys or girls, we're not, you know, like this is a deep conversation that we're having here. It's not the surface based wellness industry version that sometimes arises. Stay with me. So we were talking about it as if just the physical shell, you know, deal with the physical shell, fall in love with these pieces of the physical shell, you know, lots of focus, you know, kind of on this physical shell, physical expression, that kind of thing. And, you know, if you're going, I don't love this squishiness around my tummy or this fat roll under my bra, or when I bend over like this, I look, you know, whatever way. Like if somebody is journeying with that, you know, that's epic, right? Or like, guys, I'm not muscly enough, or, you know, my penis isn't big enough or whatever, right? Like, you know, all different things. I'm too hairy. I don't know. Like, you know, feel into what might come up for you sometimes, girl, guy, old, young, whatever it is. All right. And remember that apathy, so going, oh no, I don't really think any of those sorts of things, like who gives a fuck, is different to reverence. All right. So journey with that for a second with me too. Now, if we're just looking at this, you know, this physical shell, and we're saying this is what we are, and you know, it's almost like these are the cards you've been dealt in this life, you know, like fall in love with it, or, you know, get the fuck over it, or whatever it is, right? You know, focus in on the shell and see if you can bring some, you know, love to those areas that maybe you don't love so much, or, you know, whatever it might be. Right. And I sort of sat there and I was like, like something doesn't fit right, like frequency match. I couldn't put my finger on it, but it just didn't feel right for me. Anyway, it was really interesting because, you know, 2 days later, I was in another, you know, an amazing, you know, program that I am in, you know, mentorship, you know, that is super fucking epic, next level, universal, like, you know, the conversation is a whole other level, right? And in that, we were actually talking about something a little bit different, but still related to sort of physical shell. And this is, you know, kind of the I was going to say analogy, but the truth, right? This is the truth that I'm bringing you today. And I drew a diagram. Are you ready? Ta-da! So this is the physical shell, right? Now, if all we were doing was focusing on that little fucking dot, right, to say, this is us, this is what we are, here it is, you know, this is what I look like, this is what I be, you know, that kind of a thing, to me, that feels really limiting, doesn't it? Like if that's it, and we're sort of like, okay, send love to that squishy hip, or send love to that, you know, that whatever it might be, you know, like girls, guys, you know, you think of your thing, right? You know, send love to that, you know, that birthmark, send love to, you know, that I think I have an ugly head, or send love to my thinning hair, or I don't know, you know, think about it, whatever might be coming up for you, or zero fucks, you know, like whatever, don't even give a fuck anymore. And I'll deal with that one a little bit in a second too. But if all we're thinking about is this tiny thing, this is us, you know, we're putting all the focus there. Whatever you focus on grows, right? So if you're like, I don't particularly like that thing, if you're then focusing on it, we have this thing I like to call the bullshit-o-meter. If you're sitting there and going, no, you're amazing and you're worth it, just keep saying you're fucking worth it, or no, you don't have squishy hips, you don't have squishy hips. Like at some point, your fucking bullshit-o-meter is going to switch on and it calls bullshit on whatever it is that you're saying, right? So if you know, if we keep just kind of focusing on that particular thing that we're actually kind of struggling with, there is actually a part of your brain that is calling bullshit. It knows you don't believe that. It knows that you know, don't particularly like or love that part of yourself, right? So the bullshit meter is going off, you know, and so it kind of causes this misalignment, misdynamic kind of, you know, out of whackness. Alrighty, because whatever we focus on grows. So if we're focusing on a particular area, like or a dislike of an area, and we're trying to send it love, you know, look, I'm all for, you know, affirmations and incantations and stuff like that, you know, but there is a particular way of doing those sorts of things, and we also don't want to set off those parts of our brain that are going to call bullshit. Right. And this can come up in business. I told you there'd be business lessons in here. This can come up. I got so excited. I can't talk. Come up in business as well, because, you know, like if you sort of go, oh yeah, I can charge X amount of dollars, or I'm going to raise my prices, right? We actually have to raise your prices in increments, you know, most of the time. Okay, maybe, you know, sometimes not so much. And the thing is that you're actually the guide for that in some way. So if I'm working with business clients and we're like, okay, it's time to raise prices, I'll say, you know, this is your price now, what about this? And they'll go, you know, and all of this sort of resistance and story and trigger and different things can come up. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's so much more than I thought, because the bullshit meter is going off and saying, no, you can't charge that. Your clients won't pay that. You've never raised your prices before. You're not worth that. The bullshit meter is going off. Okay. And so they might say, oh, I couldn't charge that, but maybe I can charge this. And then, you know, and then we've, you know, we'll do some letters, we'll send it out to, you know, clients, we'll, you know, whatever, like do some exciting advertising, you know, even though the prices are rising, like da 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 da. And then whoever, you know, my business client might be, they'll go, okay, cool, like we raised it, I haven't lost any clients, I was super freaked out about that, like, oh my gosh, but it didn't happen, like that's all really cool, you know. And then they'll go, okay, and they'll settle into that, right? And then we might have to do it again, you know, because but that next go might not be so hard because the bullshit meter won't be going off so much, right? To say, no, you can't raise your prices like that, or no, that's too much, or no, you're not worthy. It goes, we did it last time and that seemed to go okay, and maybe we could do it again, and it's just another little bit, so let's do the jump, right? It changes sort of the unconscious, also a little bit conscious messaging that is showing up for us. Does that make sense? So back to my amazing drawing. Could be a boob. If we're just looking at this thing here, right, and we're just going, this is me, this is all that I am. Fuck that. Like, fuck, that's not even true. Is that all you are? You're just this dot, right? You're just that squishiness on your hip. You're just that, you know, that pasty skin. You're just that thinning hairline. Like, is that all you are? I don't think so, right? The truth of the matter, and the conversation that I was having, you know, epic next level, like a few days later, and it all just sunk in. And I was like, that's it. That's why that wasn't landing for me, and why it did not feel like a frequency match, because in my mind, this is fucking what we are. This is what we are. We are so much more, and you can hear it in my voice, right? Like, we are so much more than this little dot of a physical shell. And if we sit in reverence of ourselves from this space, how fucking amazing we are, how much of a universal being we are, whether we are a fucking soul here for a human experience, right? And look, if that is not your reality, in terms of that's not entirely what you believe, like, you know, sit with it from a different perspective. Like, where the fuck is your mind and your brain and your personality and your history and your experience, right? Like, we actually regenerate ourselves every 90 days. So where is your memory stored? And if you'd like to say your brain, okay, cool, no worries. But every single cell, it regenerates like every 90 days. So the cells that you were when you were 5 are not the cells that you are made up of today. So obviously cells, even in their own right, can communicate to one another to pass on that, you know, genetic and memory information. So what the fuck is memory? What the hell is a soul? What is personality? Where is it sitting in your body? Right? I believe it's in every single cell of our body, you know, and that this physical expression of ourself is the place that our soul gets to live. All right. And if we're looking from a body love perspective or a reverence perspective, it's like when we're looking at it from the fucking amazing universal being that we are, this fucking size, this fucking awesome. Yes, you, yes, me, yes, everyone around us, right? Like all of us, we are so fucking awesome and universal and so much more than necessarily just this. And when we look at ourselves from this kind of a perspective, from the expanded viewpoint, right? Like, God, like that fucking freckle, like, you know, on your left butt cheek really becomes fucking irrelevant, doesn't it? Who cares? You are a universal being here on this planet for the full human experience. All right. And again, whatever you're comfortable with, if that feels a little bit too, you know, far out there, fine, no worries. Then think of it from a science perspective. You are so, so much more what you are, what you are capable of, what you do in this world, who you matter to. You are so much more. You are so expansive, you know, greater than this fucking dot of a physical shell. And when we can see what we matter to people in their lives, what we're capable of, what we do, how we can touch people, our memory, our history, our uniqueness, right? Our self-expression, all of those amazing things, when we see that, the ginormity of that, then yeah, the fact that you're missing, you know, a toe on your right foot starts to become a little less relevant, you know, and we become less focused on the particular flaw or perceived flaw, right? And we sit there in true reverence of how fucking amazing we really are. All of us. You know, so if you're sitting there and your bullshit meters, you know, going off in your head going, oh, maybe you're a bit sparkly and shiny, but not me. I don't really have, you know, anything going for me. Bull fucking shit. There is no one on this planet like you. All right. Don't listen to the, you know, to the noise in your head. You are so fucking unique. You are a universal being. You are such an amazing expression of cells, of personality, of memory, of history, of life. Right? How precious is life? You know, the fact that we haven't quite found, you know, depending on your beliefs, you know, like in the mainstream, we haven't found life on another planet as yet. All right. Science hasn't kind of put that out there, you know, and so what does that say about how precious life is, how expansive we are, how amazing, how unique, how, you know, just special? So we need to stop looking at the dot and judging the dot, right? And at the same time, you know, I said we would talk about the difference in apathy and you know, and reverence, right? Apathy is, oh, well, whatever, doesn't really matter anyway. This is fine. This is the shell I've been given. Who gives a fuck, right? Fuck that. That doesn't count. That's not it. You know, reverence for the amazingness, the expansion, you know, the universal human, you know, limitless being. That's what I literally open these videos with. Hey, limitless beings, because you fucking are. And when we look from that perspective, you know, as I said, like it really drowns out some of the other noise, you know. And what was I going to say? Apathy, right? Apathy versus, you know, like let me think, it's gonna go, it's leaving my head. You all can just sit here for a minute. Does this make sense though, you guys? Right? You know, that's what I was going to say. I knew it would drop in if we just sat here together as friends for a second, right? So if we are this amazing soul, you know, like housed in this shell, does that then mean that we don't look after the shell? Right? No, it doesn't, you know, because this is the vessel, this is the home of our soul in this lifetime, right? So apathy is don't give a fuck, doesn't really matter, accept me how I am, like zero fucks kind of thing. Totally different to saying, you know what, I am this fucking epic, expansive, amazing motherfucker, right? That happens to be housed in this shell, this go around, you know, and there are plenty of things I can do to help look after this, you know, this shell, this house, because this is the home of where my soul lives. Right? And if my soul wants to be fully expressed and unapologetically itself and coming from a high vibe frequency place, then yeah, we can feed ourselves the amazing food. We can work out so that we have a body that functions. We can ensure that the things that we are consuming with our mind are of a particular frequency as well, that lift us up, that make us feel amazing, not fill us with fear, not feel heavy and disgusting and all the bad things, right? And that's not to say we're not going to feel those things sometimes too. Full human experience, right? But it's just to say that, you know, it is equally as important to, yes, look after the home of our soul as it is to recognize that you are a fucking soul to begin with. All right, you guys, If you're loving what we're putting out, make sure you head over to our Facebook community group called, funnily enough, Soul Empire Unleashed. I hope you can understand why I wanted to bring this one to you today, because I'm so passionate about how fucking expansive we are as human beings, as individuals, so fucking unique and glorious in all of our differences and all of our similarities, right? And I just, it almost pains me to think people are thinking of themselves so small, and that you could be experiencing an amount of discomfort in your reality, around some of these things, when really you are so much more than you could even imagine. So start looking at yourself from that greater perspective, and I promise you it will start drowning out how irrelevant some of those little things are, in terms of, your impact, your vision, your amazingness as a human being on this planet. Love you guys. Bye.